All right, so we had cut this in half. The first half was about the Pikachu short, and now we are going to delve into the movie portion. So that's what this is, but it's all part of one episode on Spotify if you want to just listen to a whole there, but it was too long for YouTube, so that's why we did this. All right, and here we go. So, let us get started on the movie. Pokemon the Movie 2000, The Power of One. And we just met a whole bunch of new Johto Pokemon, as we just said. And as the movie starts, we get another Johto Pokemon right from the get-go. This one being Slowking. And he's on an island looking at a giant stone with words carved into it. And I just gotta say, Slowking is kind of a fun Pokemon throughout this whole movie.
Yes, he's very funny at moments.
And then we have a voice that's narrating something, and I'm guessing it's probably what's written on the stone, because we can't really read what's written. It's just kind of squiggles and stuff. And it sounds like a prophecy. And we eventually see some guy in a fancy-looking place with all kinds of artifacts around him, reading over the same prophecy, just from, he has like a image of it or something. And right off the bat, I start to wonder something, because it mentions the world turning to ash, which sounds like the world being burned up, basically. But I started to think right off the bat, like, well, Ash Ketchum's in this, so maybe it's a play on words and it's about Ash Ketchum. The only thing is that my next thought was, wait a second, this was originally in Japan, and his name is Satoshi, and I don't know what Satoshi necessarily means, so did they do the same pun there? It doesn't seem likely, so it probably isn't what they're doing here. Maybe they just really meant that the world was burned up and we just have a coincidence.
I didn't think about his Japanese name, so I just thought that. I was thinking it could be either one, turning to ash or turning to Ash Ketchum.
Yeah, so I was confused. Obviously, we learn the truth later on in the movie, and that at least in the American version, it is a play on words, which makes me even more curious about the Japanese version, and just makes me even more want to watch this anime and movies in the original language, which hopefully I can do while actually understanding it instead of having to read subtitles, as Ruby and I continue to try to learn Japanese.
And I sort of pick up some words.
That you do. And then, on this guy's... in this guy's fancy place, we get a computer voice coming up and explaining about the 3 legendary bird Pokemon and how they originate from these orange islands, because they have a fire island, lightning island, and ice island, also all right next to some bigger island. And it confused me a little bit because it mentioned stuff about them not really being seen in stuff really places. And we saw Moltres on Kanto and the Indigo Plateau area when they lit the torch, remember?
Mm-hmm.
But if they do live there and only leave occasionally, because it seems surprising that he showed up there, so it must not be a regular occurrence, it would explain why they're rare, I would think. Because they just come by every once in a while, leave their islands only for a little bit. Maybe while the other 2 aren't looking, so that they don't take over their island while they're gone. Or maybe they all agree to leave the islands at the same time and then come back. I don't know. Maybe they have to log in vacation days or something. Anyway, the guy sits in a seat and brings up holograms that show the islands that are, and they're all color-coded for the birds, and it shows the larger island. And then he said that he claimed that any of the birds would be a great addition to his collection. So we learned that he's a collector. We kind of saw that just with all those artifacts and stuff too. But he doesn't actually want the birds. He wants to grab them because it will unlock the ultimate treasure. Then his chair rises up and we see his fancy place is actually some kind of giant flying fortress, and he is overlooking the actual islands already, like he's there. And he asks his computer which one is the nearest and learns it's Moltres, and he thinks that is good. Like, he wanted to go for him first, supposedly. And I was thinking, well, if he's going to, use any of the birds to battle the other birds to weaken them so he can capture them too, Moltres does not sound like the first one to start with. Articuno has ice powers, which the flying types are weak against, and so, Articuno's good against all of them. And Zapdos has lightning, which is also good against all of them.
But this way he can go 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, because that is the order he does go in. He tries to go in. He starts with Moltres, then goes to Zapdos, which is actually the farthest island, and then Articuno.
Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres.
Kind of wonder what their names are in Japanese now, too. Anyway.
Well, what's fire in Japanese?
I don't remember.
You know what ice are?
I definitely don't know what the rest are. I definitely looked up lightning before, but I do not remember what it is.
Well, I would guess. Well, no, because Spanish is a foreign language for us. Lightning. I wonder if they're like Lightning 1 or.
Yeah, it very well could be.
That's Zapdos' name is Lightning 3 or 2. Lightning 2.
Yeah. I think I even named some of them based off their Japanese words, but I don't in the game, right? Anyway, the guy has the everything all up on his screen as he's shooting ice bombs or missiles or something at the Moltres Fire Island, and he seems to be positioning his fortress and stuff all on this hologram board as like he's playing some elaborate strategy game like chess or something. He even uses some chess terms while he's talking about it. And the ice missiles seem to be upsetting Moltres because he burns through them, and it's because we learn that the birds kind of fight each other a bit and stuff. Later on, it seems like maybe he was thinking Articuno was trying to take over his island because they all keep balance, and that's probably what drew him out. So the guy seems to know what he's doing, and while Moltres is out, then he sends these like metal circle things out there that has electricity zapping between them, and Moltres dodges them for a bit, but he eventually gets caught in them, and more come on around him and cage him in, and then he gets pulled into the fortress. But yeah, he wants all three birds to tame the beast of the sea, which he names as well, so we finally get the name drop of Lugia. And Lugia is another Pokemon from Johto, but we don't really get to see it yet. We will just get shadowy forms in the water for the first chunk of the film.
And glowy eyes.
But here's where we get the title of the movie, and we cut to Ash, Tracy, and Misty with Togepi and Pikachu outside of their Pokeballs like normal, riding along on a boat, along with the boat's pilot, who is a girl we have never met. And the narrator claims this will be Ash's greatest adventure yet. Tracy asks Ash if they have time to give their Pokemon a little fresh air, and the boat driver confirms they got some time, as they have an hour before they reach the next island. And then, just like with the first movie, they take the theme song from the season. This one is, We All Live in a Pokemon World, and redo it. And I've come to really like the theme song for the season. I still like the first one better.
I was going to say the first one's best.
Yes, I agreed. But I like this one. But I don't like this remade version. It just did not grab me the same way as the remade version of the other one. And even then, I still like the original better than the remade version of that one, too. But I still like that remade version, whereas this one is like, wasn't great. But I'm glad they still did something with the theme song like they did with the last one. And so during the song, the gang let out their Pokemon. Misty lets out Goldeen and Staryu into the water near Lapras. But she apparently didn't let out Psyduck right away, because Psyduck eventually pops out of his ball on his own, floundering around on the boat, because of course he doesn't go in the water, because he can't swim. Then Ash, who has already released Lapras, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle, decides to release Charizard. And immediately, Charizard starts breathing fire up into the air. Like, he's not burning the boat, he's not burning Ash, which is his normal tactic when he was a problem. He's just throwing it up in the air, like he's excited to be out in the fresh air on the sea and free. And so this also, like, this incident right here, plus the fact that Charizard Chills was a show or an episode that aired after the movie came out, are two reasons why some people say Charizard Chills must come after the movie. But I argue that this evidence here isn't really evidence in their favor, because in the past, he would burn Ash's face off. He probably would have set the boat on fire, and he would either lay down if he was put into a fight, or he would go flying in the air doing whatever he wants.
I feel like if the other evidence in the movie didn't suggest one way or the other, this could be neutral and could be like flip-flopped a little bit.
I agree it could be neutral, but I definitely think there's definitely good evidence even in this moment that suggests that maybe Charizard has chilled out a little bit.
Just watch the rest of the movie.
Yeah. So.
And then, are we done with the Charizard thing?
Oh, I was just saying. So Charizard Chills, I feel, definitely takes place before this movie.
And then...
Oh, hold on. Sorry, I forgot. Because also, remember, at the end of Charizard Chills, where he gets to be calmed down and help Ash throughout the whole climax and let Ash even ride him, at the very end of that episode, Charizard tries to burn Ash, Tracy, and Misty after Ash says something and they have to run off. And then it kind of just a freeze frame, so we don't really know what happens there. So, it's not like he is in perfect control. So this incident on the boat perfectly lines up with all of that.
And then Ash sends out Snorlax.
Well, first he returns Charizard, because he's going crazy.
Oh, yeah, he definitely does that. But then he sends out Snorlax, and it starts tipping the boat.
Because Snorlax is so heavy.
And yet somehow he swims.
We discussed this before. Fat floats.
But he's actually whoosh, whoosh, like a hippo.
Yes, he dives in and out. But yes, the boat almost tips over, so he has to return him right away, too, which is pretty funny. Which is also probably good, because the more he's in this Pokeball, the less he needs to eat.
Yeah.
And then we see a periscope pop out of the water to watch what's going on, and I think we all know what that means.
Team Rocket.
Team Rocket.
That's right. And the camera pans down under the water, and sure enough, we have the Magikarp sub. Then, when the song ends, a storm rolls in, rocking the boat, and a ton of Magikarp swim by the sub, and either the Magikarp themselves or the waters, because it's carrying the boat and everything too, carry the sub away. And onto the surface. Like, they're bobbing up on the surface instead of underwater now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it carries all of them in the same direction as the boat that Ash and them are on. And we get our second shadowy shot of Lugia underwater with his glowy eyes.
And we keep getting these shots because it's also kind of showing us that Lugia is, like, changing the flow of the water almost.
Oh, you think it's Lugia changing the flow of the water?
Well, a little bit Lugia, and they even, like, mention how something underwater was changing the flow later on. Like, most of the weatheral disturbances is because the birds. Lugia is changing the flow.
I don't think that's what the reports say. They mention that the currents are flowing in an unusual direction than what they're normal, and that's because the balance is off, because it's the three birds that keep that balance.
But they also mentioned something about, like, something underwater
Yeah,
changing
the currents underwater.
No, like, something was underwater changing the water.
I don't think that's true. You could be right, but I don't recall that. I believe it was all the bird stuff, and he's just living peacefully under there, making sure everything is fine. And when it's not fine, he has to come up and get involved. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's there to keep the birds in check. And if the birds aren't, because when they're not in check, bad things happen. But I could be wrong, like I said. What's up, Rosella?
Okay, so Moltres has its own island, Zapdos has its own island, and Articuno has its own island, but then there's a big island in the middle, so that's Lugia's island.
Oh, maybe. But yeah, because I think they even do a summation at one point, maybe when it's still on the helicopter, where Professor Oak is explaining what's happening, and he's talking about the three birds and how their elements trigger each other, and that's what's causing all the problems in the water and in the world.
And he has a multicolored pen.
I think they were talking about the changes underwater when he was on the phone with Professor Ivy.
Yeah, the changes in the water because of what's happening later, at which he uses the three birds to explain and never mentions Lugia on the helicopter scene. Like I said, he might have said something about a creature now, but the helicopter scene, I'm pretty sure it's just about the birds, which seems to account for everything. But I'll have to watch it again now. Anyway, it doesn't matter too much. There's problems, and Lugia knows about it. So yeah, the water's all pulling them off towards the large island that we kept seeing before. We learn that this area is in, like, the center of the Orange Islands, and the water pulls them into the bay, and then the Magikarp sub smashes into a jutting out piece of rock that has a lighthouse on it. Then we cut to Kanto, and Pidgey fly by in the sky near Pallet Town, and we see that Ash's mom has a picture of her, Brock, Ash, and Misty, along with Professor Oak hanging on her wall. And it started to make me think that Delia and Professor Oak are often around each other. Like, when Ash tries to call his mom, Professor Oak's there, or vice versa. I don't remember which one it was in some episode. And when they're at that one beach, they're both there for those two episodes, like the Tentacruel and Tentacool episode and stuff. And yeah, they're always hanging out. And it makes me wonder, because, I mean, we don't know where Mr. Ketchum is, so maybe he's out of the picture and she's moving on.
But I feel like the reason they're always on, like, trips together is because they're going to go see Ash.
Except that they're not off to see Ash. Like, the reason they run into each other at the beach is because they were on some volunteer group thing or something.
Well, that was just the town's volunteer group.
Yeah, well, and why were they... Okay, sure. Hey, just because the whole town, I'm good. Anyway, seems suspicious. I think they have a secret love affair.
Lovey, lovey, lovey.
Anyway, but Ash's mom is outside watering her garden, and Mr. Mime is once again sweeping the outside.
Maybe he's sweeping the sidewalk.
I think he is at one point, actually, but He just sweeps everywhere he goes. The dirt, the sidewalk, whatever. And Professor Oak happens to be riding by her house on a bike, which is not uncommon for people to do when they like somebody. Just saying.
Lovey, lovey, lovey.
Anyway, but he arrives just in time for them both to be there as the weather starts behaving strangely. The wind blows in, dark clouds come over. Mr. Mime darts into the house like he's afraid, but he actually comes right back out with an umbrella just in the nick of time to put it up over Delia so she doesn't get caught in the downpour.
Professor Oak still gets caught.
Oh yeah, well Mr. Mime is wet too. Mr. Mime don't care though. Mr. Mime just taking care of Delia. And then within just a few seconds the downpour is stopped and it starts to snow. And it is summer right now. So that's all weird. Then they see strange lights in the sky, and a bunch of Pidgey fly by. Actually, a ton of them. And then the Pidgey are gone, and the clouds break up, and it's back to a bright sunny day. And then a ton of Diglett come plowing through the path, knock Oak off his bike, and he ends up hanging off of Delia's fence in a funny fashion. And the bike stays on top of the Diglett as they keep going and basically steal his bike. And they went in the same direction as the Pidgey.
That's a pretty darn expensive bike.
Well, all the bikes are expensive, so...
Like millions of dollars.
I thought he got dragged away with the dig.
Nope, he stayed behind.
He did?
Yeah, he was hanging on the fence.
Okay.
But then we cut back to Ash and Co., and once on the beach of the island that they were being rushed towards, they end up getting surrounded by a bunch of people in bird masks. So they're like some tribal group.
Weird masks and costumes.
And one of the people among the tribe is a woman named Carol, who seems to recognize the boat pilot person, so they talk a little bit. I'm pretty sure they said her name at some point, but I didn't catch it. And anyway, we find out that there's an island festival that they're getting ready for. That's an annual thing, I think. And Carol is usually the maiden for the thing, but she's gotten too old, so her younger sister, who currently isn't dressed in any of the tribal outfits like the rest of them, she's dressed as some regular teenage girl or something, and she's the one who will be the maiden, but she thinks this is all stupid. And her name is Melody. And Carol and Melody are both names related to music. And music plays a factor in this whole story. But then they all get excited to find out that Ash is a Pokemon trainer, because apparently they need a Pokemon trainer for their festival. And an old man in the group calls him the Chosen One, making it all seem very serious. But then he just kind of says it like it's a joke kind of thing. It's just for the tourists. It's a festival, right? It doesn't mean anything, really. But Melody is excited about being the maiden suddenly when she finds out that they got Ash there. Because he's cute and probably the cutest or handsomest chosen one they've had in years. And she gives him a welcoming kiss on the cheek, which seems to irritate Misty. In fact, she becomes very, very cranky for a good chunk of this whole village area and a little bit beyond it. Melody asks if Misty is Ash's younger sister, which I also think is funny because Misty tried to claim that he was just a little boy one time when she was flirting with that one gym trainer. And when Melody's told no, then she just assumes that Misty must be Ash's girlfriend and tells her not to get jealous during the festival. So by dinner time, Misty is fuming about being called Ash's girlfriend, but it makes me wonder why she's so worked up if it's not something she wants to be true.
It probably is something she wants to be true, but it is annoying when people are like, "Ooh, you're in love."
Yeah, but she's not even saying it like that. She just made a comment about, "Oh, you must be be Ash's girlfriend, so don't get jealous during the festival," because they're supposed to be kind of a thing during the festival, right? Then Melody comes on stage during the dinner and playing a pretty tune on her flute or ocarina or whatever it is. It looks like it's made out of a shell, like a seashell.
Mm-hmm.
But
two of them. One's tiny,
she looks
one's
very,
bigger.
very... What?
It looks like it's made out of two seashells. One's tiny and one's bigger.
Oh, that's true. The note changer, twisty knob, is like another seashell. That's true. But anyway, when she shows up on stage, she looks a lot different, and she's actually dressed in the traditional maiden garb. And at first, I wasn't even sure who she was. I figured out quicker than Ash did, just because I'm like, well, obviously this is the person we've been seeing just a little bit ago. But because Ash is like, who is this? And he's surprised to learn that it's Melody. And Misty claims that she's being a big show-off, but once again, this just shows that she's being maybe jealous because this is exactly what the maiden is supposed to be doing. It's part of the festival. So that's not really showing off, it's performing your role.
The shells remind me one time when we were on vacation, I had a bunch of seashells, and I filled my backpack so full when I put it on and it tipped over.
Yep, you did have a ton of seashells. That was a heavy bag, and it was hilarious that it tipped you over. So, Melody gives Ash the prophecy stuff that he needs to perform. It's something each chosen one is supposed to do. And all he really has to do, and she even says that it's not like a big deal, you just have to go to these 3 islands, grab the glass balls from each island, ice, lightning, and fire, and then bring them back, and Melody will perform the song. Or the maiden does perform the song, which will be Melody. And at this point, Melody mentions how handsome he is again, and Misty gets very cranky, which again seems like jealousy because this wasn't directed at Misty, right? Melody's just complimenting Ash. Why should Misty be cranky unless she has feelings? And I think we've already seen that she has feelings hinted at in the Wherefore Art Thou Pokemon episode and the episode where the gym trainer was trying to get Misty to stay with him. And Ash has been a dunce both times. Because even the other guy was like, oh, I see, there's probably something between you two.
What's the gym, where the gym trainer's trying to get?
So the 3rd Orange League gym leader, which is the last one he faced, when they get to the island, well, before they get to the island, they save his little sister, and Misty is a big part of saving the little sister, and so this guy becomes quite smitten with Misty because she's also pretty. And we find out he's the gym leader, and Ash is trying to challenge him, but he's ignoring Ash because he keeps flirting with Misty. And they eventually go to his place and stay the night there before the battle the next day because he agrees to do a battle with Ash. And he keeps trying to ask Misty if she would stay and train his Pokemon and just stay with him and be like a big sister to his little sister because she likes her a lot and all this stuff.
I'll need to watch that episode.
Yeah, it's a pretty good episode, actually. And it's the first Orange Island gym where they actually do a battle instead of just like tasks. There was a task beforehand that Ash had to pass if he wanted to do the battle, but they still do a battle. And then during the battle, eventually Misty tries to tell Ash what to do and encourage him, and that shocks the guy and shocks the little sister, realizing that, oh, she has chosen Ash.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I haven't watched.
It's a good episode. It's called Misty Meets Her Match.
That's what you guys keep talking about and I don't understand.
Anyway, Ash wants to get started right away because he's Ash and he always wants to just plow ahead, even though he has all day tomorrow to do it, which will be easier in the daylight because it's nighttime now. But he insists, even though Melody's like, hey, you can do it later. And the boat captain from before offers to give him the ride he needs. And Ash asks Misty along, but she says he should get himself a girlfriend if he wants someone to do what he wants whenever he wants, which is a really petty reaction and silly reaction if you don't have your feelings hurt, which, why do you have your feelings hurt unless you found him flirting with some other girl? And you want him. Anyway, so then So then Pikachu runs off with Ash's hat, which seems odd, and Team Rocket is riding on top of their sub, because I think the top of it gets broken off, is that right?
Yeah,
the top got broken.
So it's just like a little boat where they're pedaling.
Yeah, but they're above water then, because they can't be underwater now.
Yep.
Yeah. And they're pedaling along, but then I think Ash and the boat captain and stuff end up knocking them over as they zoom by. Then we cut to Slowking in a cave, and we hear a voice speak over, and not a voice we've heard yet before, and he talks about not disturbing the fire, ice, and lightning. Then we switch around to the front of Slowking and see that it is the Slowking that is talking and saying these things.
Bum, bum, bum!
Then back on the other island, Melody is worried about the storm that's coming in, and so she decides to take her sister's boat to go help, since it's their fault that Ash is in danger because it is their stupid ritual, and she picked Ash for it. Which I don't think she really was the one to pick Ash, but she was excited about it.
Yeah.
So then Misty also decides to come along with Melody when Melody decides to leave, and she immediately denies that it is not because Ash is Misty's boyfriend, when Melody never suggested that it was. So it's obviously bouncing around in Misty's head. It doesn't even need anybody else to say anything for her to start denying it, which seems to prove that her denying is not true.
And Tracy pops in. Are you guys talking about me?
Yeah, I think that's hilarious. Tracy's like, oh, you guys talking about me? Nobody's talking about you, Tracy. The only thing we want from you, Tracy, is to go away and bring Brock back.
Yeah, Brock.
Actually, Tracy's not too bad, but he's just kind of plain, and Brock is much cooler.
Especially with the girls. I like how he's always like, ooh, with the girls.
Yeah, he is funny with the girls. But now, that being said, I would think you would like Tracy, because he's always sketching Pokemon.
Except now and then he sketches girls.
Well, yeah, because he's a little bit like Brock.
Yeah, but I like how Brock is.
I think Rosella just likes he sketches Pokemon, but we don't like Tracy, so she can't like Tracy.
What?
Well, or she has a crush on Brock. I don't know.
What?
I'm just teasing. Just teasing. Just
Stop
teasing.
it!
Is Brock your boyfriend?
No!
Why are you getting so worked up? It must be true that you have feelings for him. I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. Ow. He's too old for you anyway. Alright, so... Then we cut back to the guy in the fortress, and he says the same thing that Slowking said about not disturbing the elements. He then says there seems to be a shift in the balance, because, he captured one of the stupid Pokemon. So of course there's a shift. Then we have Oak and Delia watching news about the flowing currents going through the Orange Islands and how they're getting messed up or something and causing flooding. And there are storms all over. Then Professor Ivy cuts in with a video call that mentions the Pokemon there are behaving oddly, and it was great to see Professor Ivy again. I'm like, oh, I never thought we'd see her again. She was in that episode forever ago. Brock stayed there. Goodbye. And then Brock pops into the screen.
Yeah! Struggling with some Pokemon.
That's right, he was struggling with some Pokemon. So he's still around. So that was cool to see him. He didn't say anything, but he's around. Then Ash and the captain end up getting their boat damaged, not destroyed. Because they end up using it again later, and then it gets destroyed.
I mean, it is destroyed. Like, there's no way you're using that thing again. Sure, it's not, like, obliterated, but it's destroyed.
Twice.
They use pieces of it.
Well, they use the whole thing again later, and then they use a piece from it.
It is destroyed. Maybe not obliterated, but destroyed.
It doesn't even look destroyed. It looks just fine. It has, like, a broken piece.
It does not. It has, like, a hole. A huge hole.
I don't remember a big hole, but maybe.
I do.
Anyway... So they're tossed about by the sea and crash on the beach of the island that they were headed for. Pikachu once again runs off, acting really weird, and so Ash chases after him. And then we find that Melody and Misty and Tracy are cruising on Carol's boat, her big sister's boat, and are riding a wave on the boat, which seems cool. And we find out Team Rocket is hiding in the back of the boat, which is interesting. But then they launch into the air, sending Team Rocket onto the island, where Ash and them are, while the boat continues onto the island a little more normally, with Misty, Melody, and Tracy, but it's not completely normal, because they land on top of a rock on the beach. And then, really crazy, Melody pulls a lever that sends a sail up into the air, to catch the wind, and basically fly the boat up the stairs on the island.
Just to be clear, it wasn't very smooth flying.
Yeah, no,
they were like scraping and banging.
Yes, but it still carried them through really fairly gracefully for a boat, you know what I mean, on land.
Yes. But like when you say it just like started flying, it sounds like it just like
yeah, no, it was rougher than that for sure.
There's this little kid show called Mighty Express, and there's a pirate ship where they're trying to deliver it, and it starts to get lifted up, and the train's like, I didn't know boats could fly. They can't. Oh, in that case,
That's funny. Back to the fortress, we find Moltres is squawking in his little circle metal cage things, and the guy sets his sight on Zapdos. Then back to Ash and Pikachu, they run by right where Team Rocket landed, and so Team Rocket's planning to capture Pikachu, of course. Ash and Pikachu climb onto a platform where there's a altar type thing with a statue and stuff, and sitting there is the glass sphere, and it's red. And when Ash takes it out, a fire burns within, so we know this is the Fire Island one, Moltres' sphere. As Pikachu and Ash start back, they find Team Rocket blocking their path, of course. So then Team Rocket says something about getting on the boat, missing the boat. Some saying that involves a boat. It's a common saying, I don't remember what it was. And right when they say that, of course, Melody and Misty and Tracy on the boat sailing up the stairs comes flying in and almost smacks them all. And it's hilarious. But of course that saves Ash and Pikachu then, sort of. Or at least, stops Team Rocket from enacting their plan long enough for some other event to take place, which eventually changes everything.
Yeah.
So then, Zapdos shows up over the island while they're all recovering from the boat almost accident. And it starts shooting lightning down on everything. Pikachu sends lightning back up, and it gets zapped back at him. Some weird energy fills the area around Zapdos, the boat, and everyone, kind of almost like a force field, keeping them all trapped up there on that peak area.
Wait, was that the peak?
It's at the altar area, so I'm guessing it's at the main area of the island.
I thought it was at...
No, it's definitely up there still, up the stairs and everything.
It is?
Yep, they're still high up.
Okay.
So Pikachu keeps zapping at Zapdos, but the bird doesn't seem to notice, and Meowth translates and lets them know that Pikachu is actually talking to Zapdos. and is asking why Zapdos is on Fire Island instead of his Lightning Island, and he also wonders where Moltres is. And Zapdos just claims the island since Moltres isn't there, like he's claiming it for himself. Hence, the balance being screwed up. Then the fortress from the guy lowers from the clouds and suddenly makes an appearance. And it has a thing on the bottom to absorb all the electricity from Zapdos, draining the Pokemon of its power. And then the guy sends metal squares this time to capture Zapdos. So we had circles, now we have squares.
All we need is triangles, because that's the common 3 first shapes.
Yep. And a triangle makes kind of an A shape, which is perfect for Articuno.
Yeah, it kind of is.
And sometimes, if you have a fourth shape, it's a star.
Ash and Co., along with the boat, Melody, and Team Rocket, get caught up in the whole thing as well, and are all taken aboard the big fortress. Menacing words from the guy and another shadowy, glowing-eyed appearance of Lugia take place. Like, he just says something that sounds menacing about getting more Pokemon captured and trying to get Lugia, and then we see Lugia appear in the water again, but not really see all of them. And then the computer lets the collector know that they caught more than Zapdos this time around. And then while the prisoners, well, sort of prisoners, they're not really in a prison like Zapdos and Moltres are.
They're actually in a cage.
Oh, are they? You're right, they are
Like
in a
a bird.
cage. I forgot.
But they get released when...
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, before that happens, Melody is reading the prophecy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they can see it from where they're at in the cage.
It's like right in front of them.
Oh, that's right. So Melody reads the prophecy about not disturbing the elements, or destruction comes upon the land where they clash, which is right before the whole thing about turning to ash, because it rhymes. Mm-hmm. And then, when the collector shows up and talks to them, Misty yells at the collector about collecting Pokemon and how you shouldn't do that.
But I believe, maybe he doesn't, but I believe he mentions something about collecting. His collection all started with a Mew card.
He doesn't say Mew card, he just said it started with a card.
Nonetheless, he's collecting, which is what Pokemon was designed to be about. That was where it started. It started from a guy who liked bug collecting and wanted to translate into a video game. Then they added battling, which is what Joy talks about being not okay, sort of, in the first movie. And so it just seems weird that they spend a moment in both big movies for Pokemon to talk against the entire main 2 themes of the video games, which is battling and collecting. Like, that is what Pokemon is.
He
so
wasn't doing it right, though, and like...
He's not doing it right. You're not doing it like I would do it. You didn't put them in alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order.
Can I finish what I was saying?
Maybe.
Wait, then Zapdos would be at the very end because...
Yes, I know. Go ahead, Ruby.
He is collecting... Yes, we did collect the legendary birds, but, like, we wouldn't have if, like, it was going to be horrible because we didn't collect Mew in the games.
Well, that's only because we couldn't.
No, we just didn't collect him because he needed to stay in the world to help with the world.
Except that plenty of people, when they played the games back in the day, definitely got Mew because you had to get a special...
We didn't collect Mew because Mew needs to stay in the world to help.
Yay!
Right. And we definitely did not put the code in. We definitely didn't put the code in to Scarlet and Violet to get our own Mew. To get our own Mew.
You're right. We didn't do that. We didn't do that. You are very correct in that statement. We did not.
We definitely did.
We did not put the code. I did not put the code in.
You're right. You didn't, but you wanted me to do it for you.
No, I didn't. You just did that.
Because when I don't put the codes in for you and get codes for myself, you're very angry with me. Speaking of, there's a code out for Dots Quaxley.
You told me about that.
Wait, who's Dots Quaxley?
You asked
from
this
Pokemon
question.
Horizons. We got Liko Sprigatito, and now we can get Dots Quaxley.
We already had this conversation.
Oh, yeah, that's Quaxley.
Anyway, that aside out of the way, it's really silly that Misty's like, hey, you're a bad guy because you're collecting. I mean, what is Ash's goal? What's the song from the first one that we think is the better song?
Gotta catch 'em all.
No.
Pokemon.
No. Gotta catch them all.
That's what I said. Pokemon.
That's what Ash's journey is about. Not that he ever catches them all, but that's what he wants to do. And be the best at battling.
He doesn't exactly care too much about catching them all. But later on, we will meet a character who does care about collecting them all. He wants
Go?
them all. Yes.
Okay. I have not watched a lot of that, so.
I've only seen parts, but yes.
And he wanted his first Pokemon to be Mew.
Which is it's.
What?
He wants Mew, huh?
But he didn't actually ever capture it.
But you're okay with him wanting to catch it?
No. And then
You were.
No. Listen. He didn't actually want to catch it. He just thought it was a very fascinating Pokemon, and he wanted to see it.
No, he said
He wanted to see it, Rosella.
he wanted it to be the first Pokemon he caught.
No, he didn't.
So, it is clear.
No, it's not clear about anything. Just continue, please.
No.
I don't want to hear more of your made-up stories.
It's your made-up stories.
Are you guys done? So, it is clear that Ruby is in denial over some things. But let us continue with the movie.
Fine.
So, silly comment from Misty about catching Pokemon or collecting Pokemon being a bad thing, since that's what Pokemon's about. It's a very key part. So, after that's taken care of, we see the natives on the island are watching on the news that all the Pokemon, like in the world it seems, or at least from Kanto and the Orange Islands, are coming toward the center of the Orange Islands. Sea and air Pokemon are coming from the sea and air, while land Pokemon that can't get across are just reaching the edges of land and stare off in that direction. A news reporter is on a helicopter with Professor Oak, Professor Ivy, and Delia. Oak explains the imbalance of the 3 legendary Pokemon could flood the world because of, the currents being all messed up. And Ivy explains that the Pokemon are coming together to try to help, even though they might not be able to do anything. Which I think Lugia actually says something about that later on, too, about how they're all there to see if they can help, because they figure if they can help, they should be there. But there's nothing they can do. It's up to Ash. Then we cut to a blizzard rushing around the islands, and Slowking watches on and says that he could use some pants.
And at the time, it was cold outside, and I'm like, me too, bro, because I hardly have any warm pants.
Which is funny, because he's actually specifically not a slow bro, because he became Slowking. Then reading the prophecy in the fortress again, because now they're all out of the cage, the group realize the world is in danger, and all intelligent life will be destroyed. So, that is a problem with what he's trying to do with his collection stuff, in the context of the anime, which is not the context of the video game. So they need to start fixing things, and so they decide they need to free Zapdos and Moltres. Oh, and meanwhile, Articuno is flying freely around the islands, freezing all kinds of things. The ocean, the islands, everything. And then the fortress starts firing fire blasts at Articuno. Lugia, in the water, seems aware of problems and swims upward from the depths and creates a whirlpool. On the fortress, a bunch of Ash's Pokemon work together and eventually destroy Moltres' cage, and then Moltres destroys Zapdos' cage. The birds escape and start destroying the propellers and things on the fortress, which causes that thing to crash land on Lightning Island. The gang, which includes Team Rocket and Melody still, because they're all together on this, rush out of the fortress as parts of it start falling apart and tipping over, and they end up near the altar where the lightning orb is, and that whole structure gets crushed by part of the fortress, barely missing the rest of everybody else. But it sends the lightning sphere right to Ash, and now he has 2 of the glass orbs. Woohoo!
Yay!
The whirlpool thing that was being created in the water starts to climb higher, so now it's just like a swirling thing of water coming out of the water instead of, sucking into the water.
You mean like a tornado of water?
Yeah, kind of like that. And we see the 3 legendaries battling one another in the sky above Lightning Island. Everyone gets back into a boat, but destruction breaks through frozen waters and sends it cascading over the cliff on the island and takes them all with it. And I think that's when the boat really gets destroyed. Or wait, no it doesn't. Because it gets caught here. That's right, it gets caught. But the whirlpool thing that was coming out of the water shoots out through the frozen part of the ocean and catches the boat. It carries it with them as it cuts through the ice, and a sound sort of like a song can be heard coming from Lugia. Team Rocket finds a blow-up raft on the boat while they're hanging out in there, and they get an idea that they might want to use that. And then the boat is thrown onto the area where Slowking hangs out with the prophecy, and then the boat plummets down to the frozen ocean after Misty, Ash, Tracy, and Melody get off with the Pokemon. Not really sure what happens to Team Rocket at that point, but that's when the boat gets destroyed. Slowking tells Ash to put the treasure, the glass orbs, on the altar or whatever, and Slowking knows Ash's name and tells him he's he's one treasure short after Ash places the other two. The birds continue battling and come closer to the island Ash is on. He yells at them to cut it out, but that doesn't do anything. But then the whirlpool pops up again and hits the three birds, and then we see the shadow of Lugia swimming up the whirlpool. They all stare in amazement, and then Lugia makes its sound again. Then the three birds go after Lugia, who dodges them, dives into the frozen ocean, creates another whirlpool, shoots up, and gets frozen inside the whirlpool by Articuno. But then he just glows and blasts right out of it. The three birds all blast Lugia, and it takes all three hits and sends them back at the birds themselves. We hear again from the prophecy telling us that alone Lugia's song will fail, and thus the world will turn to ash. Lugia continues the battle and keeps deflecting and dodging, but then he finally gets hit by one of the blasts, and the other two birds get their blast in, sending Lugia plummeting back into the frozen sea. And Articuno seals the hole behind it with ice. And then the birds go back to battling each other.
It's Lugia's grave.
Oh no! So yeah, with Lugia down and frozen back in the thing, they lost him. And then what took place? Was it then? Is that when we cut back to the helicopter for like a little bit with?
Yeah, then we cut back to the helicopter and they're talking about the Pokemon and.
Yeah, Oak says Delia is all worried about Ash. Then Oak's worried about like something more, and Ivy's like, yeah, but actually.
Well, yeah, Delia's like, but Ash and his friends, and then Professor Oak. I don't remember what he said, but then Professor Ivy was like, what about the world?
Yeah. And how all the Pokemon seem to know more about what's going on.
Yeah, about how like everyone was trying to gather.
And is that when we cut back to the Pokemon blasting fire through the ice to sail through?
I don't remember seeing that.
Oh yeah, the Gyarados were like shooting down the ice as they all flowed through, and then we cut to some more Pokemon walking along on the ice. So some of the land.
Seeing all the Pokemon. I remember seeing the Pokemon walk on.
Yeah,
the ice,
that was right before. Yeah. All right. And then after we see the Pokemon, then we go finally back to the island where Slowking is talking with Ash and everybody.
Yeah, and is that when Melody realizes in the
yes
prophecy that Lugia's song won't make it alone, so then she starts playing her flute?
Yes, I think you're right.
Because Lugia's song sounded the exact...
Yeah, that's when she finally makes the connection that Lugia's song sounded just like their song from the festival.
Yeah.
Yes, and so then when she plays it, Lugia shows back up.
Lugia starts to glow.
And he starts talking. And it's interesting that they give like... I mean, I don't know what type Pokemon Lugia is actually, but he seems to be doing it psychically. Slowking is psychic and he talks. And Lapras used psychic abilities to talk way back in the Christmas one. The only one who talks like normal is like Meowth. I mean, Slowking talks normal, but he is a psychic Pokemon, so maybe that's why he can.
He talks using his mouth, but the other two kept like their mouths shut and were just...
Yeah. Actually, Lugia's mouth was open a lot of times when he was talking, but it wasn't like moving.
Yeah, it wasn't talking. It was just open because Lugia's cool.
But yeah, he's the one. He ends up saying that the song alone isn't enough, right?
Yeah.
Lugia?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like saying... Oh, he was saying how Ash had to go get the orb. And...
Right, because his song isn't enough by itself.
Yeah, but he needed help because his song wasn't enough.
Yeah, he needed to harmonize with the last things or whatever.
With all the treasures.
And thus the world would turn to Ash, and that's when everybody like looks to Ash like, oh, it must be talking about you.
And then I think they asked, what do you think? And he's like, well, right now I'm wishing my mom would name me Bob instead of Ash.
Yep, which was hilarious.
And when all the Pokemon were like standing on the ice with the Gyarados and stuff in the water, I did not see any Pikachu.
Yeah, we see a lot of shots of a lot of Pokemon, but I don't remember really seeing any Pikachu except for Ash's Pikachu.
And then Pikachu's goodbye.
But
well,
that might be just so that we don't get confused.
But I mean, also I didn't see any Venonat, I don't think, or like there were different Pokemon that we didn't see.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't use a lot of the Pokemon that are usually with Ash. Like we saw a Venusaur, but not an Ivysaur, or like not a Bulbasaur, right?
They seem to use bigger Pokemon.
They did use a lot of bigger Pokemon, but they also use Pokemon that are not normally part of the team. So like as a viewer, you're not thinking, hey, wait, why are Pikachu and Bulbasaur over there all of a sudden? You know what I mean? Because for a visual...
Would think that?
As a visual cue, especially when you're younger, it might just be a little confusing. Be like, hey, wait a second. I thought they were over with Ash.
I guess that makes sense.
Especially if you haven't been watching the shows and you just watch a movie or something, which happens. I didn't watch a lot of the show and I saw the first movie. Our watching it together is the first time I've seen this movie, though.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I never watched this movie.
I don't think I have either.
So then Ash is like, all right, I gotta go.
He was crying.
Oh, that's right. So before that, they're all like Misty and Melody are encouraging him and all that stuff, and then a bunch of his own Pokemon pop out of, including Charizard, pop out of their balls on their own to encourage him as well. He's like, "Oh, you guys think so too?" And that's when he starts crying.
Yeah, and then when he walks down, he's like, "I've got this." And then the snow is like to his knees, and he's like,
well, he says like, "I'm the chosen one," and then he's like,
yeah.
"I'm the frozen one."
I feel like more like the frozen.
Yeah, there we go.
And then Pikachu's like, because the broken boat was off to the side, and he's like, why don't we just use that? Then a bunch of his Pokemon were pulling him, like Bulbasaur, and I think
yeah, he was on like a piece of metal from the boat.
Yeah, and then Charizard was also pulling him very willingly, which kind of proves that this is supposed to be after Charizard Chills.
Correct. Yeah, it was Charizard, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. Is that who were all pulling him?
I thought it was another flying one.
No, there was no other flying. He doesn't have any other flying Pokemon.
Oh, maybe it does.
Because he left Pidgeot behind.
I thought it was only Charizard and Squirtle.
No, there was a second one on the ground.
She just said Squirtle, so it must have been Bulbasaur and Squirtle and
yeah,
Charizard.
That's what I was thinking. Because then Lugia is in the air following along, but he's not pulling him.
I know.
And when they leave, then we like zoom over back to the other island and a little bit higher and away from the rest of the gang, and we see Team Rocket, and Jesse is like, he always gets to be the hero. And so then they start to resolve that maybe they'll be heroes this time.
Yeah.
And then we have this whole cool like ride across the ice where the three birds are kind of getting in the way, and Lugia's helping block them and stuff like that.
Yeah, Lugia would put like a shield around himself and then like bang into the other birds.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And also very reminiscent to Mewtwo Strikes Back. What's it with all these fancy Pokemon with their like shields and bouncing against each other?
Like in the sky, Mew and Mewtwo.
Yeah.
Like,
they just get pinging off each other. Then we end up with a hiccup. They get like hit or something that they can't keep going on their little sled.
Articuno freezes a big like ice chunk in front. No, wait. No, he doesn't. The ice melts for some reason or something, and so the water starts coming at them, and they have to run away from the water. Then Articuno freezes a big ice wall, but basically
stuff gets in their way.
Yeah.
And so then we see Team Rocket in their little raft zooming across the ice.
With a giant fan on the back.
That's right, they have a big giant fan on the back.
Because they got the fan from the helicopter.
Oh, because the helicopter crashed.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, because it got caught in the bird attacks, right?
Yeah, and Professor Oak's like, it's safe for them to be worrying about us or something.
Sure. So yeah, they crash, and then that gives Team Rocket an idea, and then that's how they get the fan to blow across their raft. And then they have a whole new motto about how Ash thinks that they're going to be a problem, but he's going to be surprised. Yeah, a very heroic, like, we're coming to rescue, basically. And so then they help Ash get up to the last orb, but after trying to get the orb, Articuno shows up to cause problems, right?
He does get the orb and put it in his pocket.
Okay, but Articuno seals them from getting away, basically.
All the orbs have like a little design inside where the fire one has a fire, then the electric one has a zigzag, but I'm confused, or the ice one has a zigzag instead of a snowflake.
I think they all just had zigzags.
No, they didn't.
No, the fire one definitely burned with some fire.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, I agree. It would have been better if they had, like, snowing or, like, a swirling icy storm or something.
I feel like the icy storm would have been the best one to put in the orb.
Sure.
Maybe they thought it would look more like a snow globe.
Maybe, but that's okay, I would think.
That would be way better than a zigzaggy line.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
At least it was blue.
It was blue. But, I know they have troubles getting back out the caveway, so they're going to have to climb the ice walls, but they can't because they're ice walls, and so they like push each other up it or something like that.
The raft eventually gets destroyed.
Yes.
And so Lugia's like, do you have the orb? And it was funny because then after he says yes, then he's like, okay, get on. But I'm like, so if he didn't have the orb, you just let him die?
Well, basically get the orb first so that we can get out of here.
No, Articuno sort of like throws a wall around them. And then Pikachu climbs up it and is like, Pika Pika. And then Meowth's like, look. And they all climb up. And then Lugia asks if he has the orb.
Yeah. So then they all get on top of, grab onto Lugia.
The Ash and Pikachu get on, but then
Team Rocket's hanging onto a leg.
They were running after Lugia, like, wait for us! Then they finally jump on a leg.
Yeah. Did they slide down the mountain before Lugia picks them up? I almost feel like they...
Yeah.
Okay,
there
so they
was
got
a long
over
run
the wall, and then they slid all the way down, basically, and got to the water, the frozen ocean, and then that's where Lugia
I thought
gets
they
them.
only slid down a little bit.
Maybe they did. You could be right, but they were sliding down first.
I think they got to the frozen.
Either way. And then, yeah, Team Rocket runs and catches up and grabs Lugia's leg as he flies off back to the island where they need to put the orb. But then the birds are all following and attacking, and Lugia's trying to dodge and get around it. But he's being slowed down, Team Rocket decides, because they're adding too much weight. And then they have a hilarious joke about how they should go on Weight Watchers, and Jesse's like, it's too late. And Meowth, like, basically says the commercial from Weight Watchers from way back about how it's like, it's never too late to start, or something like that, which is just hilarious, because, like, it's never too late to start losing weight, sure, but it is too late to start losing weight for this specific moment.
Yep. They think they're gonna die.
So it's just all very funny, and then they make the decision to let go and be heroes, which is really cool. It was a really awesome character moment for Team Rocket, and Ash is like, wait, what are you doing? Like, he's like, you guys are gonna die. And they let go, and we're like, we're blasting off for good. And I just love the double meaning of that, because they're blasting off to be good guys, but also because this is the end, right? They're going to die. It's going to be
Yeah.
the last time.
And when they're falling right towards the bottom, I think, who said it that, like, it doesn't matter, we're about to die, and then they fall into the water.
Well, like, James says something, Jesse says something, and Meowth finally says, we're all going to die, or we're about to die. And that's right when they plunge into a hole in the ice.
Like, conveniently right there. Like, how was that hole there?
Well, I think it was actually part of the big line that the Pokemon cut through the ice.
Oh.
So it wasn't just a hole.
That makes sense.
And when they were falling, they said, let's not say goodbye, let's just,
Oh, yeah, it rhymed, didn't it?
That's what they said. Let's not say goodbye, let's just say we're gonna die.
Oh, yeah.
And then they fell in the water.
Yeah, James probably said, let's not say goodbye. Jesse's like, let's just say, and Meow was like, we're gonna die.
I think they all said we're gonna.
No, I'm pretty sure it was just Meow.
Said goodbye. We're gonna die.
So anyway, then they get back to the island. Ash gets the orb put right where it belongs, and then they start doing the music, like with Melody playing the flute. Oh wait, no.
No, Melody's not playing the flute yet.
I skipped way ahead. All right, so yeah, while they're flying through the air, the guy finally sends out his trap for what might have been Articuno, because he already used circles and squares.
So like I said, all he needed was triangles.
And so then the triangles come, and they try to capture Lugia, and they even get around him and zap him a bunch, which sends Ash falling off down into the water with Pikachu. And then eventually, after fighting it and blasting like a hyper beam all over the place, Lugia also falls into the water. And then they're sinking, and then Lugia's like, I've failed. And it's super sad.
Oh yeah, poor Lugia. He's falling down in the water, and then we cut to Ash falling, and then we go back to Lugia going deeper and deeper, and goes, I failed.
Yeah.
And then he just like falls, and I'm like,
Yeah,
Lugia, you haven't failed.
He's not really falling because he's in the water, so he's sinking. But
Maybe for Articuno, he was going to use stars.
He was probably gonna use triangles, but he didn't need
No,
to.
the triangles had little points and stuff because,
well, remember, he was saying he was going to use the birds to get him, so he probably wanted to use the birds to fight Lugia or weaken him or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, Misty Misty and Melody discuss stuff, and Melody's like, all right, you play the music when he gets here, but I'm gonna go. But Misty's like, I'm gonna go. I don't even know how to play your stupid flute, basically.
And then she also says, but Ash is never alone because he got me.
And me specifically, yeah. So
lovey.
She likes him. Anyway, so she runs down. She jumps into the water, fishes him out of the water. He's unconscious, so she's trying to get the water out of his lungs and wake him up. And be like, come on, Ash. And he does get up, and he stumbles as he's trying to get back up the mountain, and they help support him. And then Tracy's there too.
But when he was laying there, she goes, you can't. And then he jumps up.
Yeah, and I'm like, you can't what? What were you gonna say, Misty? You can't die, or were you gonna say you can't leave me?
dun dun dun.
So he gets up there and gets the orb placed, and then we have then Melody gets in the center to play the flute.
Because the orb is on like almost a little pedestal. There's a few stairs up there, and then kind of just...
Yeah, and there's like stone pillars surrounding the whole thing.
Yeah.
And when she starts playing the notes, the different pillars light up for each note, so they're all like connected to notes.
That was super cool.
It was really fascinating to me because I've seen things like that in different things before, and one of the things it reminded me of, it's not quite the same, but there's a game called Chrono Cross, which is kind of a sequel to Chrono Trigger, and you can have a couple different endings to that game, and the good ending involves getting some certain notes played during the boss fight, and I think certain things glow when you do it too, kind of like that does.
That's cool.
And like instead of actually having to fight the boss during the boss fight, you just get these notes played in the right order to win. And it's pretty cool.
That's fun.
Yeah, and that's how you get like the best ending.
And then there was like green healing water or something coming out.
Right, and that actually reminded me a lot of the movie Return of the King, where the ghost army, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there's a ghost army that helps fight during the final battle stuff, or near the final battle. And they invade the White City, where the orcs had gotten inside, and they basically go through it all, just killing all the orcs and winning the battle for them on that city part. And because they're all green and glowy ghosts, it looks a lot like this, and it looks like it's actually just like a plumbing cleaner or something. They just like flow through the city and just clean it out.
Ew.
I don't know. It's funny, but yes, this green liquid kind of reminded me of the same thing, because it like goes over the cliff area where it flows. There's flowers suddenly, and it seems to be bringing life back to everything.
Because then Lugia comes back again, and then there's like a beautiful water thing that shoots up, and all of us are like, go swim in it!
Oh, but before that, when he shoots up in another pillar of water like he did before, but this time it's like glowing all kinds of fun colors, like a rainbow almost.
Huh.
And then he explodes out of it, and Lugia's there, and then all the green liquid flows over the frozen ocean and melts everything, and everything's happy and hunky-dory, and then there's like this big arc of the ocean current.
But for that, Lugia points at Ash and Ash is like, and points at himself and like saying me, and then Lugia is like, yeah, and then he gets on rides for a little bit, and then that happens.
That's true. They do ride around near the current of water, though, so it does come up while they're riding around. And actually, when he had him right on his back, for whatever reason, even though it's not very much that similar at all, it reminded me of Neverending Story, when the kid gets to ride on Falcor's back, and like the real world kid gets to ride through the fantasy world and all that. So yeah, that's cool. And then Ash's mom shows up and is super angry at him. And they're like, hey, Mrs. Ketchum, he just saved the world. And she's like, oh, is that right? She's like, well, maybe you could do it a little closer to home. And all I could think of is, like, you never seem to care that Ash is gone. You wander around the world half the time with your secret lover, Professor Oak. And I don't think that you care. Like, when he was kidnapped by Team Rocket because they thought he was a Mr. Mime, you were not concerned in the slightest because you were so sure he would just come, they would let him go, which, I mean, he did get free pretty quickly, which was funny. But still, they normally wouldn't just let him go when they found out they were wrong. And in fact, they came after him later because he, quote-unquote, humiliated them. And you also mistook a real Mr. Mime for Ash in a costume. And when Ash came in a costume, you thought maybe he had a twin, which you're his mother. You should know.
That was the funniest part. Like, Ash has a twin brother? Well, see, Ash's mom has, like, redder hair, doesn't she?
Maybe?
She does.
And then Ash has black hair, so maybe Ash was adopted.
Or he has a dark-haired father.
And that's why he doesn't have a father. And he had a twin brother that got adopted into another family.
But still, why would they look like Mr. Mime?
Yeah. Conveniently dressed as Mr. Mime at the same time.
Illogical. So, her throwing a big old fit didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, you have been so weird about your relationship to your own son here that I don't buy this sudden frustration and wanting him to be closer to home.
Didn't you say, like, you didn't name me Bob, it's your fault?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's your fault I saved the world. You didn't name me Bob. But also, another interesting thing about this movie is that, guess who we ran into?
Who?
Professor Oak.
Okay.
Does Ash have something for Professor Oak? This would have been a perfect time to hand over the GS ball.
Oh.
But it is Ash, so is it really surprising he didn't even think of it?
I mean, I might have not thought of it. I was saving the world.
You definitely would not have thought of it.
Well, I was just thinking even your oldest brother, Fire, would have been like, later on, somebody might have mentioned something, you'd be like, oh yeah, that would have made sense. But that's fine. And so then after that's all done, we get another glimpse of Mr. Collector guy. Oh, and that stream of water ends up crashing back into the water. It was really cool. I wanted to swim around in it for sure.
But the currents would have killed us.
Yeah, probably. But
it would be a fun death.
But the collector guy, he picks up his last remaining piece of his collection since his fortress crashed and
Can
burned.
I see it?
And it is
Egyptian Mew.
the Pokemon TCG card for Ancient Mew. I think it's called Ancient Mew. I thought that was interesting that and because he even mentions this was the beginning and now it's his new beginning. Like that was the first thing he got that made him wanted to be a collector.
Because he talked about it earlier, too.
Yeah, I believe he did. Because I've been told this before, but I've watched the movie a couple times and somehow I keep missing it.
Well, I missed a couple things when I've watched the parts of the movie twice.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's... No, I believe you guys. I just keep missing it.
It looks like the picture when they showed it in Mewtwo Strikes Back. It looks like an Egyptian Mew.
Yeah, it's not an Egyptian Mew because it wasn't Egypt. You keep getting that weirdly mixed up in your head, child.
Egyptian Mew.
Because it was South America, which is not where Egypt is. Egypt is across the ocean in Africa.
Fine, Desert Mew.
It wasn't even a desert, it was a jungle. There was the South American jungle.
Picture looks like Egyptian Mew.
No.
It really
It's
doesn't.
doing like this sort of thing.
Oh, yes, we can all see that. So, anyway, then we get into the end with like they all say their goodbyes and all that stuff, and we get music playing, and the song comes on, and the song is really slow and everything, and it's not really my favorite song, but I did like that it was Lugia's song, the same song from the flute and what Lugia does. Like they just added lyrics to it.
Flute.
Oh, that's true. She wasn't she?
No, wait.
No, not at the very end, was she?
No. I didn't realize you were talking about the credits.
Yeah, I'm talking about the credits.
But you missed a part.
What did I miss?
Team Rocket! They were before the credits.
All right. How could I forget?
We
That's one of the best parts of the movie.
Then we jumped to Team Rocket climbing up a cliff or out of the water or something. And they're talking about how the one time they were heroes, no one ever got to see them be heroes. And then Slowking's standing there and he's like, yes, a bunch of people saw you. And they're like, or someone saw you. And they're like, you saw us? And he's like, lots of people saw you. And they're watching you right now.
And then he turns towards the screen and looks at everybody watching the show.
And then everyone else turns to the screen and they're like, someone did see us be heroes.
We are heroes. That's good.
And then Jesse's like, what if the boss finds out?
That's bad.
James says.
Yeah, James is the one saying that's good and that's bad every time.
And then Jesse's like, we can just start our own organization or something.
That's good.
But we don't have any money.
That's bad.
But we can just steal some money. That's good.
Oh, wait.
Or
Is that bad? That's so
James is
funny.
like, is that good? Or that's good? Or is that bad?
So we know Team Rocket will probably go back to being bad guys. But it was really fun for them to be heroes. Oh, and I forgot to mention, too, when they did finally jump, too, Ash is carried off and he's like, Team Rocket! And he's reaching out for them. Like, he's really sad that that's happening to them. It's like they're friends.
I mean, they have had a lot of journeys together.
They really have.
And some of them were them working together.
This is true. They've had a couple moments of working together.
Including Meowth and Pikachu.
That's also true. Yeah, Meowth was almost turned into a good guy at one point.
Yeah, like when they were handcuffed together.
Yeah.
Thing. Except it was more around their waist.
Yeah, well, yeah, they have dainty little wrists that can't just be handcuffed. But then after that, then I think we have the credits. Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the song is Lugia's song, but with some lyrics, which was really cool. But the song itself was just kind of slow. But I did like all the scenery that we keep cutting through. Like we see basically the gang in just like still pictures most of the time. I think just on different parts of their journey, like doing more journeying across land and ocean and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I just like to see that kind of stuff. That's fun. And then after that song, we slip into a Weird Al song called Everybody Pokemon, as in like polka music. And he basically just sings all the Kanto Pokemon to a polka tune. And it's hilarious. And during it, we get another shot of Professor Oak talking to Professor Ivy on a vid screen with Brock in the background doing crazy stuff.
No, Brock keeps popping in the screen.
Yeah. And it's fun to keep being reminded of Brock being around and stuff. So I like that. And yeah, and we get some more songs because Pokemon doesn't play for very long, and we get more scenes of them journeying. Nothing really that stood out to me as far as the songs are concerned, except for Weird Al's song. I like me some Weird Al, even if he's not really saying anything all that funny, and just singing Pokemon to a polka tune. Santa Claus. Yeah, I know. It's my favorite Christmas song. Yeah, and that pretty much wraps up that movie, and we ended up with 2 more Johto Pokemon. We got Slowking, which is a branching evolution from Slowpoke, and we got Lugia, which I believe is a legendary Pokemon from the next games. Like the 3 birds were legendary Pokemon. So, that was cool. So we ended up with a nice big list of new Johto Pokemon. And what's fun, too, is that I believe the first Johto anime episodes also come out before the games are actually released.
Oh, that's fun.
Which, we're not quite there yet anyway, and we will probably not cover those episodes until we start playing the game, because we like to just do them parallel with where we are in the game.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I do believe that they did air, at least a couple episodes before the games came out. But I can double check when we get there. We still have a couple more rounds of Orange Island episodes to get through. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how many. Next episode is actually going to be a very manga-heavy episode.
Oh, me.
Because we did a very anime-heavy episode so we could cover Charizard Chills, and so we only did like 3 chapters of manga last time. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Nope.
So, yeah, next episode will be a very manga-heavy episode as we wrap up the 6th volume of the manga, and so then we'll only be doing a few episodes of the anime, I believe, and so that means there's only one more volume of manga to go through, so which will probably split in about half. So that means I think we just have 3 more Orange Island episodes before we take a month or 2 break, so that Ruby and I can start playing Silver and Gold and Crystal and get some ground as we also start watching the Johto anime. So that'll be fun, yeah?
Yep.
Also, big warning, and the manga's been around for a while, but there's some big revelation by the end of volume 6 of the manga, so if you don't want spoilers before reading it, you might want to read those before you listen to next week's episode, and really the rest of the Orange Island episodes, because we'll be talking about that interesting twist. But I think that's it for our coverage of this week. And now for some more yellow Pokedex entries.
Who's that Pokemon?
Meowth, number 52, Scratch Cat Pokemon. Appears to be more active at night. It loves round and shiny things. It can't stop from picking them up.
Persian, number 53. Classy cat Pokemon, normal type. The gem in its forehead glows on its own. It walks with all the grace and elegance of a proud queen.
Psyduck, number 54. Duck Pokemon. Always tormented by headaches. It uses psychic powers, but it is not known if it intends to do so.
Golduck, number 55. Duck Pokemon, water type. Its slim and long limbs end in broad flippers. They are used for swimming gracefully in lakes.
Mankey, number 56. Pig Monkey Pokemon. An agile Pokemon that lives in trees. It angers easily and will not hesitate to attack anything.
Growlithe, number 58. Puppy Pokemon, fire type. A Pokemon with a friendly nature. However, it will bark fiercely at anything invading its territory.
Arcanine or Arcanine, number 59. Legendary Pokemon. A legendary Pokemon in China. Many people are charmed by its grace and beauty while running. Ooh, another reference to a real-world place.
Poliwag, number 60. Tadpole Pokemon, water. The direction of the spiral on the belly differs by area. It is more adept at swimming than walking.
By area, that's different what the anime said, remember? It said that the Poliwag swirl goes one way and like the
Oh, yeah.
Poliwhirl, Tadpole Pokemon. Ooh, number 61, sorry. Under attack, it uses its belly spiral to put the foe to sleep. It then makes its escape. Was it Poliwrath that Charizard fought in Charizard Chills, right?
Yep. Poliwrath, number 62. Tadpole Pokemon. water and fighting. Swims powerfully using all the muscles in its body. It can even overtake champion swimmers.
Abra, number 63, Psy Pokemon, Psychic. Sleeps 18 hours a day. If it senses danger, it will teleport itself to safety even as it sleeps. Yeah, we know it teleports itself to safety every time it feels danger. Pain in the butt.
What ever pain in the butt for you? I was on my lucky streak.
Everything for you was lucky in that game.
Kadabra. Number 64. Psy Pokemon, Psychic. Many odd things happen if this Pokemon is close by. For example, it makes clocks run backwards.
That's fun. It makes me find Kadabras a lot more interesting. Alakazam! Number 65. Psy Pokemon, Psychic type. A Pokemon that can memorize anything. It never forgets what it learns. That's why this Pokemon is smart.
Machop. Number 66. Superpower Pokemon, Fighting. Very powerful in spite of its small size. Its mastery of many types of martial art makes it very tough.
Machoke. Number 67. Superpower Pokemon, Fighting. The belt around its waist holds back its energy. Without it, this Pokemon would be unstoppable.
Machamp. Number 68. Superpower Pokemon, Fighting. One arm alone can move mountains. Using all four arms, this Pokemon fires off awesome punches.
Ooh, are we ready? Are we ready for this one? Bellsprout. Number 69. Flower Pokemon, Grass and Poison type. Prefers hot and humid places. It ensnares tiny insects with its vines and devours them.
We're cutting that one out, right?
I love Bellsprout.
Since you evolved into Victory Bell, we'll just forgive your little mishap of being a Bellsprout before. I know it was an accident. Weeping Bell, number 70. Flycatcher Pokemon, Grass Poison. When hungry, it swallows anything that moves. Its helpless prey is melted inside by strong acids.
We know it has dangerous acids from the Victory Bell stuff in the manga. Victory Bell! Ah! Number 71. Flycatcher Pokemon, Grass and Poison. Lures prey with the sweet aroma of honey. Swallowed whole, the prey is melted in a day. Bones and all.
Tentacool, number 72.
Cool.
Jellyfish Pokemon, Water Poison. It can sometimes be found all dry and shriveled up on a beach. Toss it back into the sea to revive it.
Tentacruel. You know, there are some people out there that actually think these guys are ugly. Number 73, Jellyfish Pokemon, Water Poison type. Its 80 tentacles can stretch and contract freely. They wrap around prey and weaken it with poison, or maybe even somehow communicate to its mind and make it talk.
Geodude, number 74, Rock Pokemon, Fighting type.
Hey, stop fighting.
Rock Pokemon, Rock and Ground. Commonly found near mountains, trails, etc. If you step on one by accident, it gets angry. Might even fight you with its fighting type powers.
Hey, Graveler, number 75. Rock Pokemon, Rock and Ground. No fighting to be seen.
That's because it's Graveler, not Geodude.
That's often seen rolling down mountain trails. Obstacles are just things to roll straight over, not avoid. Last one for today.
Gola. Number 76. Megaton Pokemon. Rock, ground, and fight.
Not fight!
Once it sheds its skin, its body turns tender and whitish. Its hide hardens when it's exposed to air.
And then that's our yellow Pokedex for this week, which means that we have 3 more to go. And then we will finally finish the yellow Pokedex and be all wrapped up with that and the Orange Island. Woohoo! Alright, and now it's time for Pokemon cards!
Yay! I'm opening Paradox Rift from Scarlet and Violet with a Gallade on it. My first Pokemon is Blitzel, Electric type.
That's the zebra thing, right?
Yep, it evolves into Zebra Strike. Then I've got Bonsweet, Grass type.
Oh, Bonsweet! Like the Pokemon Community Day.
Then Phoebus, it's like a little fish.
It's an ugly little fish, but it evolves into something very pretty.
Can I see it?
In fact, I think I actually named my Melodic in Pokemon Go Melody, which is the name of the one girl in this. And that was without knowing about Melody in the show.
Then Apon, normal type. Ooh, then a supporter trainer, Tulip. Put up to 4 in any combination of psychic Pokemon and basic psychic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand.
Is Tulip like a character or an item or what?
This is supporter. Dondozo, 106. That's his health, 160. It's a water type, and for 1 energy, you get like supplement Swallow Up. It doesn't do any damage, so. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You may attach any number of basic energy cards you find there to this Pokemon. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck.
Nice.
Then Garbodor evolves from Trubbish.
Yep.
Dark type.
I don't like those guys. They stink.
Ooh, then I got Vanillish evolves from Vanillite. I've got Vanillite. It's my reverse holo, and it's a water type.
Well, it's really probably an ice type. But...
Yeah, it is.
Tandy Mouse, normal type. It's like the reverse holo, but with the rainbowy thing at the bottom.
I like Tandy Mouse.
Okay.
A supporter trainer, Rika. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck and put 2 of them into your hand. Shuffle the other cards and put them on the bottom of your deck. But then it's like a 2-card secret or 2-star secret rare full art.
Ooh, that's cool. Nice.
Can I see it? It looks like a boy and it looks creepy and evil.
Okay.
And then a fire energy.
Nice. All right, Rosella, your turn.
So I am opening a Crown Zenith. It's Sword and Shield, and it's Zamazenta and Zacian. So my first Pokemon is Scyther.
Scyther!
And Riolu.
The Lucario pre-evolution?
Yeah.
What types?
Oh, Scyther is grass type, and Riolio is fighting.
Yeah.
Yangoose is normal. Looks like a little critter.
Yeah, you have you got a Gumshoes one other episode, and Gumshoes evolves from Yangoose.
Oh yeah, Cherry Bee.
Oh, Cherry Bee.
Grass type. I love it when the Pokemon. So there's like the main Pokemon phase, and then they have just a little face. Like the giraffe has its tail like a little face, and this one has a little other cherry as a face.
Sure.
Starly.
Oh, yeah.
Normal type. I got a trainer card item. Trekking shoes. Look at the top card of your deck. You may put that card into your hand. If don't, discard that card and draw a card. And then I got Rotom V-Star.
Ooh, you got a V-Star.
And it's electric type. Ooh, it has an ability. Conversing Star. During your turn, you may use this ability, discard any number of cards from your hand, then draw that many cards. You cannot use more than 1 V-Star power in a game. Fighting Energy. Another trainer card item. Great Ball. Graveler. Fighting type evolves from Geodude. Trainer card item. Rare Candy. Choose one of your basic Pokemon in play. If you have a Stage 2 card in your hand that evolves from that Pokemon, put that card into the basic Pokemon to evolve it, skipping the stage 1. You can't use this card during your first turn or on a basic Pokemon that was put into play this turn. And then, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun way to skip an evolution so you can get them fully evolved faster.
I know. So, like, if you have a Charmander and a Charizard but no Charmeleon, you just use that. Then you can evolve it into Charizard.
Yep.
I like getting special cards in these, like V-Stars and stuff.
Yeah. Alright, so I'm opening Temporal Forces from Scarlet and Violet, and my picture is a weird-looking Raikou with its long neck.
Ugh.
Alright, what do I got? I have Knocked Owl, evolves from Hoot Hoot.
Hoot Hoot.
It's a normal type.
Oh, I like the final evolution, I'm pretty sure that is. Or it's one of them. It's one of the owl things.
I think Hoot Hoot and Knocked Owl that's it. It's Hoot Hoot and then Knocked Owl.
Well, it's the art of this ninja. Look like with its cloak.
Oh, you're talking about the Decidueye, which comes from a starter Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
Rowlet to Dartrix or whatever.
I knew it was an owl.
Yes.
That's where I got them. Stop.
A grass owl. Alright. My next one is Croconaw, water type, which is the starter water Pokemon from Johto, so we know that's what Ruby will be picking in a couple weeks. Licky Licky evolves from Lickitung, normal type. Matang evolves from Beldum. It's a steel type and it has ability Metal Maker. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 4 cards of your deck and attach any number of basic steel energy cards you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like. Shuffle the other cards and put them on the bottom of your deck. Ooh, I have a future Pokemon, Iron Treads, which is the one that I caught and Vivai caught, because we have Violet.
Futurist.
Yep, the futuristic, like, Doniphan, basically. As long as, and it has an ability too, Dual Core. As long as this Pokemon has a future booster energy capsule attached, it is a fighting and steel type instead of just a steel type. So that's fun. I like that card. Alright. Then I got Buddy Buddy Poffin. And I know Poffin's a kind of treat we can give our Pokemon in Pokemon Go. But this is Buddy Buddy Poffin. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less and put them on your bench. Then shuffle your deck. Ooh, I got Lycanroc, which evolves from Rockruff. It's a fighting type. There's 2 different kinds of Lycanroc, and this might be the daytime Lycanroc.
One's dark and scary.
Yeah, because the other one looks like a wolf man instead of just like a regular wolf, and this one looks like a regular wolf.
Yeah, one time I saw like Rockruff's picture on a Pokemon card, and it's like with a little cutie fly on its ear, and it's so cute. And then I see the evolved dark form, and that's all.
My reverse holo is Elgium or something. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh, I like
Psychic
that
type.
card.
And its move doesn't do damage. Flip a coin. If heads during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage from and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. Fun. So he's just annoying. Lets you keep him out there while you get the rest of your Pokemon set up. Alright. And then, a Mr. Mime, who's also a reverse holo. That's fun. Psychic type. And, futuristic Miraidon.
Yeah, you got one.
I got one too.
Which means I can't trade.
Which means he's a dragon type.
Yep.
And so his move is 2 lightning and a psychic, because dragons usually use 2 different types. Okay. This seems to be the Iron Serpent mentioned in an old book. The Iron Serpent is said to have turned the land to ash with its lightning. Well, that's kind of funny timing in relation to the movie.
I like how it's a futuristic Pokemon.
Well, that's just it. Miraidon is a future type. Like, I'm guessing... So, like, Iron Treads is a future of futuristically looking Doniphan, while the Great Tusk is a prehistoric-looking Doniphan, right? So I'm betting Cyclizar, which was a new Pokemon in Scarlet Violet, has a future and past version. Koraidon and Miraidon. Yeah, he's the little green...
I know who Cyclizar is, but...
And he looks like a little motorcycle Pokemon, right?
I guess.
Oh, yeah, I know him.
I'm betting that's what Miraidon and Koraidon are. Future and past versions of that. So that's why it says future, because he is a futuristic... Like, he's another, different version of a regular Pokemon.
Because they both have those little wheel things.
I got a basic water energy, and then that's it. Well, that was cool. I'm glad to get my future Miraidon now.
But you want another one.
Oh, I would probably take another one.
Which means I still can trade. Oh, yeah, you.
That is our episode, I believe. So, again, next week we will have we'll be finishing Volume 6 of the Pokemon Adventures manga, and we'll be doing a few episodes of the anime. I don't remember which ones they are, so... Actually, hold on. I do. Give me 1 minute. So we will be covering chapters 69 through 78 of the manga. I'm not going to read the titles for you this time. You can wait till next week. But then the episodes we'll be covering are the Pokemon Water War, Pokemon Food Fight, and Pokemon Double Trouble. And we will be getting the final Pokemon League gym in those episodes. So that'll be exciting stuff, because then we get to start heading for the champion stuff. And that is that. So thank you for joining us. You can find us on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and we also have a YouTube channel at Hunterfield Institute. Routes Through Pokemon is a Hunterfield Institute production. And we also have an email if you want to reach out and talk to us at hunterfieldmanor@gmail.com. And so, yeah, just wherever you find us, comment, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that fun stuff. Get our numbers up so more people can find us if they want to hear us, if you like us. Even if you don't like us, do some stuff, comment, whatever. And if you have any questions or comments or corrections, because we're still learning some of this Pokemon stuff as we go. And maybe you can tell Ruby that she's right and that I'm way off base about when the boat got smashed or other mistakes I may have made. And just chime in. Or even tell us that Rosella was right, then that Snorlax got pushed by the wind in the Pikachu adventure. We're willing to hear it. I would love to read your messages and let us know how we're doing. But be nice, because we are sensitive. No, I'm just kidding. We're not that sensitive. I can tell you. You can tell me I suck if you want. Yeah, I think that's it. So, unless there's anything else you guys got, we're signing out. So we will catch you on the next round. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Part 10. Flower Child. Drip, drip, drip. A small pool of water formed beneath a stalactite in the dark cavern. The sound of the drops above splashing into the little pool below echoed off the walls and were only accompanied by the sound of heavy breathing coming from just a few feet away. There, slumped against a wall, was a girl with dark pink hair. On the ground, beneath one limp hand, was a small chisel of sorts. In her other hand, on the verge of rolling out of it, was something that resembled a Pokeball, but made out of an acorn or something. The girl's eyes were closed as she snoozed away, and a few other wheezes and snores joined her own rhythmic breaths. They came from 3 separate Pokemon, all gathered around the girl. One was resting on her lap, colored black and red, its polka-dotted wings folded in. Pressing into her back was a stout creature with a shiny bluish-blackish back with red dots, and then, at the girl's feet and stretching its little roots towards the puddle of water, was a flower-like Pokemon with a yellow, bell-shaped head. The root-like feet stirred as the sound of feet scraping rapidly against rocky ground echoed through the tunnel. The Pokemon lifted its yellow head and blinked sleepily, slightly confused over where it was or why it was awake. Then distant voices traveled toward it.
We're gaining. We just need to... Whoa!
There was a moment of silence, and then the sound of something plunging into water came through just above the girl and her 3 Pokemon. The grass Pokemon's eyes went wide, and it ducked as if it thought something was about to crash on top of its thin frame. A few pebbles did drop from the ceiling, and the dripping water halted for a moment. When it resumed, the creature thought it sounded a little different, almost faster.
Dad?
The Pokemon was not going to be able to go back to sleep after all that, and all the commotion was making it nervous.
Violet?
It seemed possible its companions and trainer were all in danger, and so, reluctantly, the creature moved back to the girl and prodded her with its foot. There was no reaction. Lowering its yellow head and sighing, the Pokemon gave another kick. The girl scrunched up her face and scratched at her leg where she had been kicked. The Pokemon frowned, backed up a step, and then stretched out a vine and whipped it against the trainer's leg.
Ow!
The girl shot up, which caused the red and black Pokemon to fly up and spread its bug-like wings to stay aloft rather than drop to the ground, and the other Pokemon tumbled back and blasted flames through its red spots in shock.
What the heck? Why did you...
She stopped, as a lot of splashing and thrashing was heard from beyond the rocky ceiling above. The girl and all the Pokemon looked up with uncertainty. Then there was a cracking sound, and a larger piece of rock fell from the ceiling and splashed into the little puddle. The dripping turned into a trickling of water.
Oh no.
Cracks started to grow around the stalactite and didn't look like they were stopping anytime soon.
I think we should probably get moving.
The flower-like Pokemon rolled its whole head instead of just its eyes, while the other 2 Pokemon nodded in agreement with the girl. There was some more cracking up above, and they all started running up the tunnel, except for the black and red bug that flew instead. The flower-like Pokemon wasn't fast, and so the girl scooped it up in her arms as they continued to hurry. It became clear to the girl pretty early on that the tunnel was at an incline, and she was having more and more trouble breathing as she and her Pokemon moved as quickly as they could, running up that hill. Finally, they entered into a large open chamber, and she collapsed to the ground, barely bringing the Pokemon she was carrying to the ground before releasing it. She looked back toward the tunnel to see if it was starting to flood yet, and if they were in any immediate danger. Taking deep breaths, the girl looked over at her Pokemon next, seeing nothing coming up the tunnel after them.
I think we made it, guys.
There was no sound of rushing water or anything from that tunnel. The neighboring path, however, there it sounded like a fight was taking place. No, not a fight. A Pokemon battle.
Wow, Mount Moon is active today.
The girl picked herself up off the ground and started to brush the rock and dirt off her knees and legs.
We should get out of here before we get caught up in any unnecessary battles. I just want those badges.
She started to walk in the opposite direction of the noise, her bug Pokemon flying over her shoulder and the fire Pokemon walking along by her feet. But the grass Pokemon stayed behind. It looked at the tunnel with the noise, at the girl, then the tunnel they had just run from, back to the girl, and then it cried out. The girl turned around and looked.
What? I don't want to battle any other trainers. That's not why I'm here.
Oh, no.
Looking pointedly back at the tunnels, the Pokemon cried out again and then stared at the girl. She shrugged.
I don't know what you're trying to tell me. Can we just go, please?
The Pokemon narrowed its eyes and continued staring for a little longer. Then it took a deep breath, shook its yellow head, and turned around. As soon as it did, the girl knew what was about to happen, and she rushed forward to stop her Pokemon, but she was too late. It started sprinting down the tunnel where the battle was taking place, and the girl landed hard on the ground.
Ow! That wasn't fun.
She grumbled to herself. Then she popped up and said,
I'm okay.
And then she rubbed at her banged-up knees, wincing in pain. She stood up straight and jerked her head toward the tunnel the Pokemon had escaped down.
All right, come on, you two.
Both the bug and fire Pokemon came over toward her, and they all faced the tunnel together.
I really need to start keeping her in a Pokeball.
To be continued.